Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference. Yes, I am Teresa Velardi, and I am grateful to have you here on our show that goes live every first and third Tuesday of the month at 5 p.m. We can also listen to the replays at dreamvision7network.com. And you can also hear us every Tuesday morning at 5 and every Tuesday afternoon at 5, with, again, the live shows on the first and third. And today I have with me Dr. Marcus Wettstein and Dr. Victor Acquista. They are both authors in the new book, Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible, that just hit the shelves in Amazon this past week. And I'm excited to have them here. But let's first get our Serenity Prayer said, and hold anybody in your thoughts who may be going through something today that they need attention and a little extra prayer in their lives today. So we'll just say this prayer together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it is by God's grace that we are indeed fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our greatness, using our gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others with passion and purpose. And all of God's great universe is absolutely conspiring in our favor. And we gratefully say, Amen.
Amen.
Speaking of men, let me tell you about these two guys. So Marcus has been with us before. I'm going to start with Victor. Dr. Victor Acquista has become a successful international author and speaker following careers as a primary care physician and medical executive. He is known for writing to raise consciousness, His current focus is on embodying a soul-centered presence and awareness in daily life. His nonfiction and his workshops focus on personal growth and transformation, especially as it pertains to health and wellness. His fiction includes social messaging intended to get the reader engaged in thought-provoking themes. He is a creator and narrator, host of a podcast series, Podfobler Productions. I hope I said that correctly. And Dr. Acquista has a longstanding interest in consciousness studies, is a student of integral theory, and strives to do his best to make our planet a wee bit better. He lives with his wife in Florida. He is a member of the Authors Guild, the Mystery Writers of America, the International Thriller Writers, and the Florida Writers Association. You can contact him. We'll give you his contact information before we close today. Welcome, Victor. We are so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you, Teresa, and thank you to your listeners for inviting me on the show. And congratulations, Marcus and Teresa, both for putting out a fine book. And I'm honored to be represented in that.
And we are honored to have you here for this conversation as well. Dr. Marcus Wettstein. Dr. Wettstein has practiced endocrinology for nearly 30 years. He is a diabetes, metabolic, and stress management specialist. He also works in energy medicine as a licensed BioWell practitioner. He assists clients in improving their health and wellness by measuring their energy field, stress level, health status, and energy reserve via electrophotonic imaging. He lives in Colorado with his wife and 3 of his children. He enjoys skiing and hiking. And welcome back, Dr. Marcus Wettstein. It's good to have you again.
And thank you, Teresa, for having me back again. And it's going to be a pleasure with the two of you talking a little bit here coming up.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. When you and Peggy put together, Peggy Wilms is the second author who started this whole thing with the first book. The first book is Fourfold Formula for All Things Wellness. And then we have Win the Wellness War, right? So this is the second one. Show their copies. Yes, we have them. They're awesome. The stories in here focus on mind, body, heart, and spirit, not necessarily in that order. What I find really interesting is here you are, two medical professionals in the world of medicine, and yet all three of our stories end up in the spirit realm of the book, which really, really makes me, it begs a question. I'll go to you first, Dr. Victor. Do you feel that what you have learned about spirit and soul, as you talk about in your book, do you feel that that is going to be an integral part of where Western medicine goes in the future?
I
No.
I can say that it's lovely. Larry Dawsey, who some of your listeners and you both might be familiar with, he was an internist. He's written many, many books. But he wrote a book in 2000 called Reinventing Medicine, and it was really all about energy medicine. And so if we conceptualize spirit in terms of consciousness and different energy frequencies as the way consciousness manifests in various forms and so on, then I think the answer is yes. I think we are headed towards a more spiritually based understanding of health and wellness. Interestingly, the word health shares roots with the words whole and holy. So to be healthy is to be whole, is to be holy. And how we language this, if some people are more comfortable thinking in terms purely of energy. Okay, fine, you can language it that way. If you prefer to talk about it as God or infinite source or love, that's fine too. So, I think that the core of each and every one of us is a spiritual core. And so if we're not addressing what's at the core, we're, only partially impacting people's health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great answer. And what do you think about what Victor just said, Marcus? And do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I must agree with the fact that we're all learning, we're all moving forward, we're all integrating practices into our medical offices that haven't been there before, have been shunned. So from that perspective, that is correct. But I do believe that the medical field at this point in time, at least, is inundated with real broken people, with real disease that really needs attention from the perspective of treat it or die type of thing. Unfortunately, too many people are in that situation. What we're talking about with regard to integration is not ever getting there or trying not to get there. With regards to looking at all the sectors of your life, of you as a little bit more than a holistic being, because I think that our wellness wheel that we have come up with here is basically giving you the chance to look at you from a spiritual aspect, from a body, mind, and heart perspective. And in my situation, I regard the heart as being sort of the conduit, the vessel. If you as a body don't use the heart as the translator, you're not going to get communication going. And it is about that communication that we are after, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, for me, I've always been of the understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience in, and and you have a great perspective. Both of you do have a great perspective. Victor, you have a really good perspective in what you just said a little bit earlier, that health is, let's see here. The more integrated his soul is, the higher the level of health, wholeness, and holiness. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I am in agreement with you. I think, however, the word holiness carries, for some, not for everyone, but for some, a very religious-based connotation. So can we talk a little bit about health, wholeness, and holiness together as a very integrated and living a higher level?
Yeah, I think it's good and bad that there's some conflating of religion and spirituality and holiness and so on and so forth, because religion can be rigid as far as enforcing conformism and will tell you how to think, but it also is a doorway to connect us to the deep spiritual realities that are part of our existence. We are individual units, as I think of it, a body mind, because I think it's helpful to fragment the different pieces and look at them and say, well, this affects this and so on and so forth. But we're a package deal, and so I think of this as, to use the metaphor of the ocean, the vastness of the ocean is spirit. I mean, that's the whole enchilada, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then if you took a cupful of that, cupful of ocean is still ocean, but that's the soul contained within the body mind. And I think that part of our efforts to enjoy the best possible health that we can enjoy is to recognize that the cup, even if it has imperfections, if it has a crack or a blemish or a chip, that it is still an expression of divinity. It's still a sacred vessel. And so the holiness, to me, yes, the soul that's contained within as a portion of spirit, of course, we have no trouble thinking of that as holy. But when we step back and we begin to understand that, no, the cup is sacred. That's our body, that's our mind. And when we attend to our health, it's often the case that we're trying to disassociate a part of ourselves. So you step on the scale, you don't like what you see because you're too overweight, and then you have a sense of, oh, I don't like myself because I'm overweight. When in fact, if you step back and said, I love myself, and because I love myself, I'm going to make efforts to lose weight. So instead of, sort of hating part of yourself, disowning, you can't be whole if you disown part of yourself. So I like to think of, let's recognize the cup as not only holding the essence of divinity, but being an expression of divinity, even if it has some chips and flaws in it. And that's our vessel. That's what we're going through this life. We're a body mind, as you said. We're spiritual beings having a physical existence. So we are soul essence, contained in this cup body mind. And to me, however you language it with respect to religion or holiness, those are just words. The concept is really what's important. Because people get hung up on words and labels, and then they want to debate what the meaning of that word is. So just think of the concept here.
I agree with you. And I think some people, and that's what I said, some people would look at that with religious connotation, where somebody who has a feel for the spiritual part of who you are would look at it a little bit differently. It's not outside yourself, it's inside yourself, right? So
I would go. I would even. Yeah, I would go even a little bit further and say, you know, the we are sort of, when we're talking about the cosmic consciousness, or whichever terminology you want to use, God, as the water, we're the fish in the water, right? Well, we made it out of the water, but we're still 60% plus water inside the skin. So, in other words, you know, the water is the cosmic consciousness. If that concept sticks, then, you know, it's difficult to explain to a fish what water is, and it's difficult for us to understand the concept of what God or cosmic consciousness or whatever is. But the point here is that we're all trying to achieve the same thing, which is peace within ourselves. And the peace is basically only coming if we don't war against ourselves, like Victor says, you know, oh, I'm too fat, and oh, my nose is too crooked, or whatever not, you know. These type of things hold us back, just like other things that are not giving us the opportunity to unify everything. It's a collection of 50 trillion cells that we got to try and keep it unified, otherwise something's going to break.
There you go. Exactly. So, you know, you work with energy a lot, both of you do. And I always was fascinated with the concept of energy, and Albert Einstein's quote in particular, that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Marcus, in your work, how does this definition of energy play out with your integrating your medical knowledge with what you know about energy? Are they connected somehow? Can you give us a little bit of an invitation to explore things a little bit differently?
Well, at this point in time, I must say I'm a bloody beginner with regards to this topic. Okay, I have not had the time or effort or chance to dive into this deep enough to be relatively concise about it. But to my understanding at this point in time, you know, universal energy as a concept is giving rise to everything. And some people regard matter as frozen energy, and, you know, a frozen state of energy. And that is a relatively reasonable construct, I think, in terms of us being slowed down to a point where it can manifest into matter that we are. Looking at it from this perspective, you do have the ability to heal yourself much more so than we give ourselves credit. That's my final recognition in all of this. If you can manage to unify everything inside yourself, to, you know, we propose in our wellness wheel 80% in each category of your life. You work on that, you're going to be in a situation where you are in tune with universal energy. And that way you are in the most blissful state that can be, as far as I'm concerned. So looking for happiness from a heart perspective, and remember, for me, the heart is the translator between the body and the spirit out there, sort of the portal, if you will. And if you look through that with everything, you can make that connection. If you look from your mind perspective, it will always be scrambled and disconnected. It won't work. Ego-driven stuff, basically. Won't work.
So that brings me back to Victor and what he said earlier about loving yourself and finding ways to make things different, you know, get on the scale. And you say, and I have this experience, this is my experience. I get on the scale and I'm like, I can either say, it will never change, or I can say what he said earlier, I love myself and I'm going to do things in order to be able to have a body that reflects the fact that I love myself. And, you know, in the Course in Miracles, I don't know if you know about the Course in Miracles, but I never made it through the entire book, but I credit Marianne Williamson with her writing of the book, A Return to Love, where she explains that there only are two emotions, love and fear. Everything that is good in your world comes from love. Everything else is based in fear. So using what Marcus was talking about with energy and how, and your concept of, you know, loving yourself, how can the two come together? This is a crazy question that just came into my head. How do they come together in order to be able to help us to form who we are in the physical and in what we do with what gifts we have been given for this journey? What's your
Good luck,
perspective?
Victor.
Nobody said this was going to be easy, guys.
Actually, you know, I'll try to be brief, but it's going to be difficult because it's
Complex question.
big topic, but in another way, it really isn't. It is quite simple. Self-care is a means of transformation, personal growth and transformation through self-care. And self-love is the most potent means of self-transformation. So energetically, if you think of infinite source or God or love as basically the energetic substance that is, you know, how consciousness manifests in this universe, multiverse, planet Earth, whatever. So we are in a self-contained system of our mind and our body, our organs, our cells, probably made up of energy that's condensed into matter through standing waves. This is all quantum mechanics and physics, which we're not going to get into, but we have an energetic composition, if you will. And that is in dynamic equilibrium within itself. So if your wheel is unbalanced, you're energetically unbalanced, and you can improve your energy through self-care, particularly self-love. But then we are in a dynamic equilibrium with the world and the environment, the energy environment that surrounds us. So how we access the energy around us, particularly the subtle energies, is probably through the interface of the chakra system. But however you want to conceptualize it, it almost doesn't matter, because I think it's clear that we are an energetic unit of some sort, each and every one of us, and we're in interaction with the field around us. So how do we maximize the energy of our system in the context of the greater system? So I think that love and being more loving, at least for me personally, is extremely energizing. When you take good care of yourself, you feel good. Well, why do you feel good? Well, I think, at least at some conceptual level, it's about love. You know, it's like the Beatles said, all there is love, or everything is love, whatever. To me, that's the simple answer. You know, it's just harness that love energy, be tuned into it, raise your frequency, which is really a different way of saying how consciousness manifests in you. We have different vibratory frequencies. There's times when you're in a low energy state. If you're in a bad mood, you're usually in a low energy state. If you're in a good mood, you're usually in a higher energy state. If you're in bliss, which probably, maybe at the top of the food chain for what we can experience, then you're energetically, you're full. So I don't really know if I answered your question, but there's a lot to unpack in this whole concept of energy and health. There really is a lot to unpack.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Marcus, hold your comment just for a minute, okay? Because we have to go to a break. And I'm really enjoying this conversation. Hold on to your thoughts there. Well, I'm really enjoying this conversation. So come back and join us right after the break with Dr. Marcus Wettstein and Dr. Victor Acquista. We're talking about...
With the hustle and bustle of today's world, how often do you take time to practice gratitude? More importantly, how can you make it a habit? The Grateful Hearts community is a group of like-minded people focusing on what's going right and being grateful. Gratitude is more than putting a smile on your face and being thankful for the roof over your head. It's about expanding your perception and finding ways to find gratitude for, in, and through the challenges we face every day. Gratitude is a feeling of connection to things higher than yourself, to God, and to others. We focus on light, positivity, and connections. You make a difference. When we join our grateful hearts together, the power of community attracts more people and even more to be grateful for. Expressing gratitude and feeling grateful is infectious, so let's share it. Join our Grateful Hearts community and watch your blessings blossom. Learn more at gratefulheartscommunity.com and join the community at facebook.com/The Grateful Hearts Community.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back. We're continuing our conversation on winning the wellness war. We are responsible. I just want to speak to gratitude for a second, and then maybe we can add in how this comes into play with living your best life and being responsible. Daily Gift of Gratitude is the first in a series of books that we're putting together. This one has 100 voices in it. And it's just one page a day, every day. You can get your copy on Amazon. The next one coming is called A Daily Gift of Hope. And to learn more about that, you can go to dailygiftbookseries.com. The information is there. And I'm really pleased to say that we have an extraordinary woman writing the forward for that. Her name is Michelle Patterson. She was handed the responsibility of the California Women's Conference from Maria Shriver when she retired from that. And Michelle was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, given 90 days to live. And we are at nearly 5 years later. She is, in fact, a beacon of hope. So I invite everyone to get a copy of Daily Gift of Gratitude and learn more about how you can be part of a Daily Gift of Hope. And I know, Marcus, you have written in Daily Gift of Gratitude, and you've got one coming for Daily Gift of Hope. And Victor, I know that you are you are on the list of people to add something to a Daily Gift of Hope. So I'm hoping that you will go ahead and take advantage of that as well. Marcus, you were about to say something about what we were talking about with Victor a moment before we went to the break. Do you remember what that was?
the translation between the spirituality and the mental aspects of our being, that is basically the challenge that I'm grappling with right now. It is for me, for my simplistic construct, the heart as a gateway between the two, sort of an arbiter, and winding up being able to establish wavelength synchronicities in your life. That's what gives me the energy, that what gives me the joy, the hope. Every time that happens, like synchronicities in life or things like that, things that just happen and you say, oh wow, that's really great. Nobody knows why that just happened, but it's great. These type of things we should be recognizing more often. They happen and we don't give gratitude, for instance, to those type of things. But all of that will train us to be able to be more heart-centered in our thinking, and being able to have the mind be able to translate to cosmic consciousness and get a perpetual movement going. Hopefully, I'm still, like I say, a bloody beginner in this, but I'm having a goal in mind.
Yay! Yeah. So I think that the concept of gratitude breeds abundance in your life, no matter what area we're talking about. That's just been my experience. Victor, let's talk about your story in the book. You called it A Soul's Journey. You talked about a few things that really fascinate me, like past life experiences, and lots of things in this book, which are, they're real. They are real. I've had some experiences that have, floored me, have stayed with me. And, talk about synchronicities, like you're in a place and you get like this deja vu, and you know that you have not ever been here in this place before during this lifetime, yet every inch of the space that you're occupying at that moment. And it's just really strange. Pottery, as a potter, when I first made my first pot, the teacher said to me, "You've done this before." Not in this lifetime, but I may have done it in another lifetime. So even though I have very solid Christian beliefs, I have to open the door for conversations on this, because I've experienced things that are actually real where this is concerned. So tell me a little bit about your story. And you referenced one of my favorite movies, The Wizard of Oz. I entered a place of extraordinary peace and beauty. It reminded me of the scene in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy enters Oz, vivid colors and light that I can describe as psychedelic and very real. I traveled briefly until encountering egg-shaped, shimmering light beings who welcomed me back. This was home. Talk to me about some of the experiences that you have had, and how specifically the knowledge of them has changed who you are today and how you live your life, knowing what you know from these experiences.
Yeah, well, I am able to distinguish between two Victors. There's the ego identity Victor, with, the stories that have occurred in his life to, in some respects shape him, and the experiences are all part of the human part of me. But the divine Victor, the soul that incarnated into this body, if you will, is everlasting. And so I think one of the things we struggle with is you're taking something which is really infinite and you're cramming it into something that's finite, and it's a hard adjustment. So I'm raised Catholic and so on and so forth. I identify with Christian mysticism, and I don't think having reincarnation in the sense of you're not reincarnating into the same body. This body is form, and that's that sacred vessel that I talked about before. So in this story, my whole interest in having a between lives soul regression was to better integrate the higher self, which is that soul self, into this human self, that I could get guidance and direction in the context of this. It's basically a hypnotic journey, not unlike what Dolores Cannon has written about in some of the work that she's done, although it wasn't called that, but it's a similar sort of technique. I went, or I had the intention of wanting to be in closer touch with my higher self. And so, I did go through a death experience, which was, somewhat traumatic, where, I was a young woman who was, I think, burned at the stake. And I didn't go through the pain of the burning part, but I do remember being tied to the stake after I'd been hunted down. But then when I left that physical form upon death, I consider that to be my soul. I was filled with love. I was filled with love towards the people that had just, obviously killed me, and forgiveness. But forgiveness is just a way we express love. And then I entered this Wizard of Oz place, which was like, oh my God, this is like great. I want to hang out here. But it was very familiar. And there were no corporeal bodies there. There were these, egg-shaped luminescent beings. And it was like, I felt like they were welcoming me back. It's like, oh, that was a hard life that you lived. You did a good job. It was like, patting me on the back. And then, that was sort of the second part of that soul's journey. So there was the death experience, the travel to this other higher realm. And then there was a portion of that soul's journey that I was taken to my council. These were also light beings. And that's where I had some conversation about, my purpose, my mission during this lifetime, and how I could best embody my higher self. And there was some, conversation in and around that. And then I went to the Hall of Records. It could have been the Akashic Records, I'm not sure. I spoke to the librarian there. He pulled out my soul contract for me. But the message I got in all the aspects of this was a confirmation, really, of something that I had written to myself years ago about.
Yeah, can I read that? Can I read that?
You can read it. I never read it to me. I read it almost every day.
Okay, so I want to share this with people because this, what I'm about to read, came to you before other experiences.
Years before, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to read this. Okay, it says, the sentence before this says, mostly I wanted to be more loving. As I wrote in this reminder to self years earlier, be filled with love, let it overflow. You are a fountainhead of love. Do nothing to restrain this, to hold it back. Do not try to parcel out your love. Can you contain the air or the oceans? Why would you want to try? So let it be with your love. And at all times, under all circumstances, love with the fullness of your being, because that's who you are in the essence of your being, a creature of love. You are happiest when you are the most loving, because at those moments, you give expression to your being, express yourself more fully.
Yeah, and that just got reaffirmed when I was with the council, asking them how to do. They just said, just keep doing what you're doing. You know the answer to this. And the same thing with the librarian. They kind of laughed at me when I kept asking the same question, because it's like, Well, you know the answer to this. If you want us to answer it again, okay.
Yeah.
And in some respects, that was validating. It was not some it was highly validating, and just gave me more momentum to continuing to work on this. And to me, it's not in the piece, but I think that we have barriers of perception and expression. So on the perception part of it, we don't see the love that's around us, that's in our fellow human beings, that's in all of creation. We don't necessarily tune into it perceptually, even though it's there. And then expressively, we have that within each and every one of us. That's my belief. And how fully we express it, or the things that we do to hold it back. These are things that, as you're mindful of it, you're in any situation and you can ask yourself, well, where's the love here? Can I see it? Or, you're in a situation, how can I shine forth that light, that love that's within me in this situation? So it's gotten a lot easier. And I want to give Marcus a chance to talk, but to me, a lot of it is we often are making judgments. The judgments are part of our ego and our conditioning and what's in our head, really, about other people and other situations, and particularly with people. Well, is this someone I can love? Is this someone deserving of my love? But when you think about it, and this is very much in accord with the teachings of Jesus, and I have read parts of Course in Miracles. I didn't finish it either. But, he said, love your enemy as yourself. Well, one, if you believe in unity consciousness, which I do, that is an expression of yourself. So you're loving yourself because your neighbor is yourself, but then love your enemy as your neighbor or as your friend. It's like basically love everybody. So when we step back and take off the head that wants to make a judgment, and just say, no, just love everybody. It gets really easy. You don't have to sort it out. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to love you. I love you. I love you. I'm pointing on the screen where, my little rectangles are, but it just gets really, really easy. And so you take the experience and with the intention of how can I, have you show me how I can do this better, and then you come back and you say, oh yeah, this is how I can do it better.
It's a big work in progress, though, because we were trained and brought up as survivalists, really. At least myself and my experience and what I see from everybody else. I lived most of my life full-fledged survival without much creation, and the creation versus the survival is what it's all about. And there is no room for love when you're in survival. It's just not possible to be able to mount that feeling inside yourself if you're so tense and anxious and driven, manipulated, all kinds of things that are happening, that are not giving us the time out or the opportunity to concentrate on this heartfelt being that is us also, that we just need to coax out to and I explained that in one of my books now, in one of the stories, that for me, recognizing from a mind perspective that this type of behavior, living from a heart perspective, is actually so much more pleasurable, starts convincing the mind. That's what happened to me over time. It is such a stronghold here that it is so hard to try and even give that a chance. But the fact that once you spark that up, it is a sort of a feedback loop, and it serves itself, and it recognizes, and the mind gives up its power. The ego stops being so gosh darn destructive all the time. And it grows, but it does take time. It does, and it takes the initial recognition that that's possible. I didn't even know that was possible. You know, that's the problem. That's the disaster out here. So many people don't get that message.
Look at you now, Marcus, though.
I know. I'm here ready to scream it at the world. Nobody's going to listen to, you know, little Joe Schmo doc here from in the country. But you know what I'm saying. You know, it is so pleasurable that you want to share. It is different.
Exactly. And we have to take our next break. Hold on. We only have a few minutes left of airtime when we come back. So let's take that break now, and we'll be right back with these two incredible doctors. And we're talking about Win the Wellness War.
In order to be healthy and happy, there are 24 areas of your life to balance. With the All Things Wellness Wheel, you become self-empowered, allowing you to make healthier decisions about relationships, nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress, and even your value system. The All Things Wellness book series, written by Peggy Wilms and Dr. Marcus Wettstein, teaches you how to balance your wellness wheel in addition to sharing true stories from multiple contributing authors. Book 1, The Fourfold Formula, and Book 2, Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible, are now available on Amazon. Reserve your spot now to become a published author in Book 3, Wellness GPS, Get Prepared for Success. Visit www.allthingswellness.com/authors for more information.
Why are we here? How can we be happy? Questions asked from millennials to boomers. Crappy to Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy answers them using true stories of grit, grace, and love. James Redfield, author of The Celestine Prophecy, wrote in the foreword, "This book is a seminar about emerging truths and offers grounded solutions through the art of the comeback." Dr. Bernie Siegel, a contributing author, wrote, "Bodies die, but spirits and consciousness survive and recycle." So, grab some tissues, open your book, and prepare to cry and laugh till it heals. Crappy to Happy by Reverend Ariel Patricia and Kathleen O'Keefe Cannabis. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and booksellers worldwide.
Do you have a personal story of hope or kindness to share? The Daily Gift book series, which began with a daily gift of gratitude, now available on Amazon, continues with a daily gift of hope and a daily gift of kindness. And we're looking for people just like you to share a story. Your daily gift of hope story might answer one of these questions. Is there a time when you felt hopeless and someone stepped in to change your view? Have you been an example of hope for someone else? Is hope something that you've always had? If so, how do you keep that hope alive? With hope, we have more energy and a purpose. It gets us out of bed in the morning. Daily Gift of Kindness might be your chance to talk about recognizing and spreading kindness to change the world. Practicing kindness lifts your spirit and your mood, warms your heart, and helps to navigate your way through today's challenges. Has an act of kindness from a stranger turned your day around? Have you ever paid it forward to someone or for someone? Your story matters, so visit dailygiftbookseries.com to find out more about how to submit your story for a daily gift of hope and a daily gift of kindness. Your stories make a difference.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back to continue this conversation with Doctors Victor and Marcus. And it's quite different than the average person who works in a hospital giving dishes out, that kind of treatment. Although I'm not discounting the doctors, please. But what I'm finding extremely interesting, and I think what the world needs to hear more about, is this collective, that we are not just a body. we're not just a body, and it's not just a matter of like putting some medication into the body to make it healthy. It's got to include a lot of things on the wellness wheel that is the brainchild of Peggy Wilms, who started this. Yeah, 24 spokes on your wellness wheel. Are you able to drive that wheel down the road without landing on a flat? I have a flat somewhere in my life, but hasn't everybody had one at one time? So, Vicky, you say something before we go ahead, Marcus. You first. Finish that sentence. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I wasn't going to intercept. No, go ahead.
I would say something before we went to the break, of what based on what Marcus was saying.
Do I remember? No, we're living in the moment. We're taking it right from here.
Actually, I wanted to very briefly just comment on what Marcus shared, because I think that the being in survival mode is a story that we tell ourselves. And it's a belief system, as it were, based on scarcity rather than abundance. And if we can shift the stories that we tell ourselves, we can create a different reality. I absolutely agree that when we shift from the head to the heart, the ego, which is in the head, actually expands when it is in service to the heart, because you're vibrating at a higher level of consciousness, which basically runs the whole show. But when you're in survival mode, the heart chakra, for instance, shuts down and contracts. Your brain, because I have a little bit of a background in neurobiology and behavior, your brain shuts down in ways too, where you don't really think. You're reacting. You're generally reacting from a conditioned place of being, and sort of unconditioning yourself. I had written a piece called Living an Authentic Life, and I call attention to the 3 H's, which are head, heart, and hands. The hands are going to do whatever either the heart tells them to do or the head tells them to do. So if your operating system is driven by your head, your ego, you're going to act and behave in a particular way. But living authentically is really shifting to that heart center, which to me, I equate more to the soul, but I don't care how it's languaged. It's this higher place of being in this world. And when you shift to the heart, you are aligning to the authentic part of you. The authentic part of you is the real, essence of who you are, and the ego is more just a lot of different stories. But it's important to realize we are not our story. We are the experiencer who's, you're a character having all these experiences in that story. But when you align to the authentic part of yourself, then the actions that flow from that. So there's 3 H words: head, heart, hands, and there's 3 A words: authentic, align, and action. Action is the hands. What you do flows from that place of alignment. And I guarantee you that the times when you are happiest are when you are aligned with your authentic self. I guarantee it. And I don't guarantee a lot, but it just makes sense, because we are creatures of love, and when we're aligned to that, we feel good.
And remember, I came from the avenue of being a staunch scientist, right? So 100% science. So I can tell you from my research, for instance, with the electrophotonic imaging, you can actually measure energies. You can measure all types of, you can measure your chakras now. They are basically low resistance areas on the skin. Things like that are all giving me, as a staunch German-raised scientist, nevertheless, okay, the opportunity to say, yeah, you got to listen to this, because if you believe in the science principle, don't shove this under the rug. This is science right here, and we have proof, plenty of studies. Either go with it or leave the playground. That's basically where we are at this point in time.
Well, I know that you do the BioWell, and I've had that done myself, and I think that that's very legitimate, science-based technology. And in many ways, I think a lot of what we think of in terms of metaphysics and spirituality is just, we haven't caught up with the scientific understanding of things that are happening on the quantum level and energy transformations and so on and so forth. But yeah, I don't view science and spirituality as being in opposition. I think that they all meet in the same place, I suppose we could do a whole nother hour talking about that.
Absolutely. Do a whole other hour or two talking about that. I want to go to what you said about authenticity and the head, the heart, and the hands. People ask me, how do you write? How do you write? And every day I take out my journal, and with pen in hand on the paper, I write down my gratitude first, and then the thoughts for the day, whatever it is that I feel I'm going to write for the day. And I've always believed that what you have in your head, in order to be able to put what is authentically yours on the page, it has to come from your head, through the heart, into your hand, and onto the page. I just found that very interesting, that's what you told me when you said, when you just said authentically. We have 2 minutes left.
I would order it differently. It comes from your heart to your head, then to your hands.
Okay, but it has to pass from the heart to get to the arm. So I guess you're in the heart, right? You're in the heart, head, heart, hand, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. So I have so enjoyed this this time with you guys. How about 30 seconds, last comment, Marcus, what would you have to say, and give your contact information for people who may want to connect with you. And everybody, please get a copy of Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible. It's available on Amazon. Get your copy, and you can read the stories that these gentlemen wrote.
Since I'm still a very private person and a bloody beginner in this game, I have most people contact me through the wellness website, so www.allthingswellness.com. I have a Facebook page with my name, and then call my MD. And that's basically there. The email that I have is a little bit difficult, MWETTST, truncated, @gmail.com. So those are the 3 things. And the thought that I want to leave everybody with is that they are way more powerful than they ever can imagine. And that is something to explore.
Thank you, Marcus. Victor, thought and your contact information if someone wants to get in touch with you.
Well, my thought is that love is the creating force behind everything. And I have a website, victoracquista.com. I could be reached on my Facebook page. I have 2 Facebook pages, one my personal one, but my author one is Victor Acquista Author on Facebook, also on Instagram. And my email is victoracquista@victoracquista.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me, gentlemen. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And we have dived deep into lots of things. Read the book, everybody. Read the book. Until next time, make sure that the conversations that you're having with the people.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift. Make sure your conversations make a difference.